Hello, everyone. In this video, I want to speak about what is currently going on in the energies, in the field, in the world. Why is this shit show happening? And what has happened before that has brought us to this point? So, right now it is March 2026, and there is war, there is Epstein files, there is the breakthrough of illusion. So, every corrupt being in this world is being exposed, which is a really good thing. And what we see is a epidemic of women not wanting to date anymore, not wanting men near them anymore. There's more women single and happy at that than ever. And at least here in the Netherlands, there is a lot of taxes being increased. And I know in Europe there's much more fear. So there's much more fear on the streets, much more. I'm thinking about all these immigrants coming and the stories around them that are fearful, whether that's right or wrong, I don't know. I'm not going to go into that. I have my own opinions on that. But the point is, there is a lot of feelings of being unsafe and not being able to sustain your own life, whether that's financially, practically, or even physically, in areas where normally we are safe. The Western world was always safe. There's no war, we have good wealth, so we're good. But that's all changing right now. And as I'm a therapist, so I work with a lot of people. I see a lot of people going through waves of the same patterns. And for the past 15 years, the pattern was different as it is now. Because for the past 15 years or so, we have healed the core feminine wound, which is all about the mother wound. And this has come to a culmination point last year. So let me explain. The mother wound is all about the body. Am I safe in my body? Am I um, allowed to listen to my body, to listen to what my body needs, and my intuition that is coming through from the body, not from the mind, but from the body. So these are very feminine aspects, principles, and they are both in men and women. So feminine, we all have. But what you've seen for the past 15 years is the rise of sister circles, is the rise of intuition, is the rise of feminine priestess circles I did it too, where we reclaimed our femininity, our intuition, and our need to listen to our inner voice. So in this gathering of sisters, of women, we've also healed the sister wound. So to accept and allow other women close, to not feel betrayed by them or feeling jealous, but to trust them. We've been working on that because we've been working on trusting ourselves. You see, when you don't trust your own body, when you don't trust your own intuition, we're not allowed to listen to your own emotions, your own feelings, your own needs, then you're also not able to trust another woman because you do not trust the feminine inside. And if you pay attention, and I'm sure you did, then of course, when a man doesn't trust his own feelings, when he cannot have his emotions, when he cannot take care of his physical needs, or he doesn't listen to his intuition, then he also cannot listen to a woman. He cannot trust her because he doesn't trust his own feminine. So for the last 15 years, it brought a rise in burnout, people that are no longer able to keep on working, keep on producing, providing, taking the load, and allowing themselves to take a rest and, or not even allowing, sometimes having the necessity to take a rest, sometimes even getting ill um, uh, with a more serious disease that is more physical, I mean. So the feminine has already been for 15 years at least through a deep core cycle of healing, meeting yourself in those deep waters of rest, doing nothing, and feeling, getting in tune with our feelings. Well, this has led to greater embodiment in setting up boundaries, greater embodiment of taking care of your own needs, greater embodiment of your worthiness. So, standing up for your rights as a woman, as a mother, as an employee. I'm speaking about mothers and women, but of course, it can also be men that have been going through this. But I see it particularly in the feminine. The women, they were front runners in this because we are more connected to our bodies by nature. We have to because we give birth, we have menstrual cycles, all the things. So our body is every month reminding us that we have a body. And we are so connected to this bodily wisdom, and we have been cultivating it and practicing it more and more and more. And therefore, the feminine, the women on this planet have gotten to a certain level of embodiment that is in tune with their worthiness. So the worthiness of the feminine, of the woman, has more place in the world now than it used to have. And I think if you look at history, there's always a growing plane of this. But again, we've reached a new level of embodiment of worthiness, of our rights. Quick side note, this has nothing to do with feminism or not feminism. It's just about women, their nature, the nature of feminine side of us, which is about listening to your body, honoring its needs, and the information that comes from the body, which is feelings like I'm hungry, I'm tired, I'm cold, or I'm angry, which means probably some boundaries overstepped, or I'm hurting from a long time ago, or I'm sad, or I'm grieving, or I'm loving. All these feelings are coming from the body, and it's information about the choices you make or have made or others have made for you. And that information is very important. Well, then on the deeper level, there's also this intuition, the hues, the knowledge that comes in, the visions that come in, the knowing from knowing, just knowing without knowing where it really comes from. But you know it and you feel it, and it's true. Honoring that intuition, bowing to that intuition gives an even greater way to good choices for your life. So, as I said, the feminine is pretty much established to a certain level of embodiment. And this has given way to the fact that women are good with boundaries now towards people that are not honoring their needs and boundaries. And therefore, also not filling in the gap. Women are no longer overcompensating for what the men leave out to do, for what the men are not taken care of. So when our worthiness was less, we would overcompensate more in order to keep safe and in order to be able to be with the men in our lives. But now, as women, we are strong enough to hold the ground, to say, no, I'm not going to go with that anymore. And this is why there's so many women single. And this is also why so much abuse is being exposed currently, because the women are no longer filling the gap. So it is visible. It's extremely visible now what is going on in the world at large. And this brings forth a shock. Because, funny story, I mean, abuse has been going on forever. Women have been suppressed forever. Children have been abused forever. Also, boys have been abused and molested forever. It's been there all along. But it's just really hard to accept and believe that it's going on. And where mostly women have spoken about abuse, think about the Me Too, or then oftentimes they weren't believed, because it's really hard to believe that anyone would do such harmful things. So women weren't believed, so let alone boys that were molested. Why would that's even a more difficult story to believe, you know? So we have a really, as a species, as a humanity, I don't know, we have a really hard time believing that there is this much pain and suffering going on in the world. But we also have a really hard time believing that maybe your niece or your cousin has been abused by somebody you trust. Because why? No, that can't be real, right? So it's not just on a collective level, but it's on a personal level as well, that we have a hard time believing when somebody is really harmed. Because we cannot imagine that somebody we love and we trust would do such a thing. But the thing is, that is exactly what is happening a lot and forever ago already. It's been happening for centuries. And it's been happening because of interrelational patterns, because of trauma and trauma patterns in people that wasn't dealt with. So there is a lot of um, how to explain this, like I myself being strangulated by a guy, by a man, and I understand what drove him to this point that he would do that. I understand it from his trauma. I understand it from his physical response to his own pain and trauma, that he wasn't capable of doing anything else but strangulating me so his pain could be diverted onto somebody else so he didn't have to deal with it, because the pain is so big and he couldn't contain it anymore. And I was the trigger. So there's these patterns which are very understandable that they happen, but it's still not right, and it's still not um, okay, right? It's not saying I understand it and therefore um, we allow it. No, 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 no. So that's where we're at currently. There's so much information now. There's so much unleashed, exposed in your personal circle and in on the grander scales of things. It's like we are seeing the abuse now. We are seeing the hurt in the world now. And we hold up our boundary as far as we can. And here comes the thing. When it comes to women and children, we need the men to hold the boundary up for us, because we can only hold up the boundary to a certain extent. And that's where we're at right now. So the feminine has healed enough to establish her worthiness, that both in men and women, that emotions and feelings and intuition are important and that they're to be listened to. And the women even have brought it to a point where they've healed inside themselves, that they could come to peace within women, holding together strongly and beautifully. But now the second step, what needs to happen is that the masculine also heals, and not only heals from the inside, but that he also stands tall again. That he stands tall in his truth, and that he erects, that he rises. Again, the masculine is still, again, true for us women and men. But, and because men are men and they have more masculine, it's more important. It's like they have now the heavier role to play. And now they have the healing cycle. They have to bring it forth to the next point. That's where we're at right now. Last year, 2025, was the turning point. So healing the masculine is very different from healing the feminine. The feminine is all about allowing your emotions, allowing the emotions to express, to let them come out, to listen to them, to honor them, to be gentle and soft, to soften, to, instead of be fighting and be harsh with feelings, to open up towards them and to surrender to them, and to surrender to your body, and to surrender to your heart, and to surrender, to open, to receive, to radiate what you feel. That's the feminine. The masculine is much about more about structure, about commitment, about showing up again and again and again, being present and continuing being present even when it doesn't feel right at all. So that's the big difference between the feminine and the masculine. The feminine, she wants to listen to her body and say, like, okay, hold on, I need to take a break because it doesn't feel good. Or hold up, there's a boundary here because this doesn't feel right. That's feminine. I need to honor my body, protect my body, and take care of my body and well-being and my children. The masculine does this protection in a very different way because he needs to step up when it gets uncomfortable. He needs to step up when it gets really, really bad. Then he should not take a rest. No, then he needs to take action. You see that it's a complete opposite. And again, it's both us, as women as in men. So where the feminine needs to nurture and take rest, take good care, um, which is oftentimes more pausing and slowing down and listen to if something doesn't feel right, then you don't do it. And for the masculine, it's the complete opposite because there you have to take action. When it's not right, when it's uncomfortable, when you don't like it, you have to take action. You have to show up, be present, and confront it. And what I see in the masculine wounding, again, in men and women, is now we're not going to do that because it feels uncomfortable, because it's not nice. No, it's not my problem, it's your problem. Diversion, denial, deflecting. It's always of the masculine to not having to deal with the uncomfortable thing, to not having to show up for commitment, to not having to show up for the uncomfortable. So this is why men, for example, are afraid to step into a relationship, or women as well. So to be avoidant in your relationships, it's because you feel like, oh, this doesn't feel good, I'm not going to do that. Whereas there might be fear or shame or guilt around having love, around having a relationship. And those feelings bring up anger and discomfort and unease. And you have to work through those patterns in order to meet love, in order to get love, in order to be in a relationship. But if you follow the hunch, like, no, it's uncomfortable, I'm not going to do that, you're never going to get there. And all avoidant people know that, but it's so hard to break through it. Or if you want to build a business and you have to be consistent and committed to show up again and again and again and again. That means you need to develop a certain stamina, a certain discipline. And it's just like working out. If you want to build up muscle, if you want to build up power, if you want to build up your physical health, you need to show up again and again in order to train yourself. And this comes with muscle aches and exhaustion and like, oh, I don't feel like it today, but I'm going anyway. So this is the masculine presence showing up again and again, even when it's hard, especially when it's hard. So, especially in interrelationships. So, whether it's your family, your children, or whether it's your employees, or whether it's your neighbors, when people are having a hard time, when your kid is having a hard time, if you want to avoid, deny, and deflect, you're going to blame the kid and push the kid away because it's not good enough. Instead, what would be healthy to actually connect with the child, take in what is going on. So take in the signals, take in the feelings, the feminine side, and to take in like, oh, what is hurting? Take it into your heart, feel it, and then take deliberate action from it, whatever that is for the circumstance. But if we're afraid that we lose ourselves or that we cannot do it right anyway, it's a very masculine problem. It's like, I'm not good enough. I'm not doing the right thing anyway. Whatever I do is wrong anyway, so I'm not even going to try. I'm just going to give up beforehand, or I'm going to blame the other beforehand because I cannot fix it anyway. Well, there you lose your power of influence. And this is exactly what this coming time and now already is about. Like, it's all about, where do you have influence? Where do you have power? How can you influence the world? By being present in the world and giving into the world, like investing in the world. If you invest in your child will more likely flourish than if you neglect and deny and deflect, right? But in order to do so, you have to also connect with yourself and not deny and deflect and avoid the stuff that is going on inside of you. And what I notice in the difference between the feminine healing and the masculine healing, it's so very different, because the feminine was much more like frustrated. It was how in Dutch you have an expression, it was walking up the walls. So you just, the walls are coming at you, and you just like, I want to break free, and the power and the fire is there. It's like, I want to break free. And that fire, that lust for life, that zest for life was like, I have to break free. And I use my anger to break open and break free. It was very present in the beginning of the feminine. If you have a burnout, you need to break free and using your anger so you can establish your natural boundaries. And therefore, you have access to your belly again, and you can breathe deeper again, and you can be more in your body again. This is the feminine, the physical feminine way of healing. Again, it's both for men and women. I'm not saying it's only for women. But now we're at a different threshold where it's much more about the heart and about grief and about living and dying. There's talk of war. There is talk about, am I able to live safely in my own neighborhood? Am I able to provide and eat? Am I able to have enough money provisions to give my family what they need? And so that's what's currently going on. And this is all to do with the fear of, am I able to live or am I going to die? Yeah, the war wound. The war wound and the masculine wound are very connected naturally, because men often die on at war, and the family dies at home because of famine and suppression and injustice, all the things. And a lot of these aspects are currently going on. It's not saying that we're having famine, but prices are increasing, and the needs and demands, like the needs and what you get is not equivalent anymore. It's not equal. It's harder to survive these days. So we're all getting into a survival state. And that fear, it's pressing upon us. It's like, and at the same time, there's this polarization going on where people are afraid to speak their mind, to stand up. And even if they do it, they get pushed back, denied, uh, pushed down in a very harsh way. There's enough examples where people are being put away, especially I see it a lot in the UK, for actually just expressing their human rights, and demonstrating on the streets or having your own opinion. So either our characters are being annihilated. So in Dutch we say karaktermoord. It's the unaliving of your character, of your persona in the world. So you're not being physically unalived, but everything else is. Well, how do you have a place in the world then? And the other one is, of course, yeah, there's still stories about people disappearing who have actually made a difference or wanted to make a difference. And um, I find it terrible, but we say like, oh, but that doesn't happen anymore and the witch hunts are gone. Well, I'm not so sure. There is a fear in society. Am I able to speak up and say out loud what I see and think, and where my boundary is? I myself feel it. even to express certain things of what happened to me, to just talk about it. I feel a threshold. I feel like, I don't know if I'm so safe to do that because I've been annihilated so many times, not in the flesh, but everything else. And I think a lot of us have experienced that. And it brings you to a place of exasperation like, what's the point? Um, am I going to survive? Like, what will it make a difference if I say something, if I do something? And there's this exasperation. And that's very different. That's a lot. I feel that's a lot of the masculine, like, oh, it's not gonna matter anyway. I'm not even gonna try. And it gives you this state of paralysis and shock and like just being bound, like hands are tied, mouth is shut, and you're just in fear. And this fear and this shock is partially very old because it's this old shock of war, this old shock of loss, this old shock of I'm going to die anyway if I am going to battle for a good cause, because that's what people did in wars. They battled for a cause and then they died anyway. So that's the shock that is still residing in our tissue, in our ancestry somewhere, that we have lost loved ones or lost our own lives or lost family members, that even while they were fighting for cause, it was, yeah, they died anyway, you see? So that's what we're dealing with currently. Like, am I going to speak up for what I believe in? Am I going to say something about these Epstein files? Am I going to say something about what is going on in the world? Am I going to put up a boundary? Well, I'm exasperated. I feel like it won't matter anyway. I'm going to die. You see, that's the old pattern that is coming up right now. And that is paralyzing and exasperating and tiring. And it feels like I can't breathe, I can't move. I cannot access my chest. This is all about the chest area. It's all about grief. It's all about the heart and the lungs and the neck and the shoulders, the weight on your shoulders. Because even though this is going on, you still have to provide and take care of your family, take care of being safe, whilst how on earth to do that? So that's where we're currently at. And I feel that to break through this pattern of shock, of paralysis, of analysis paralysis, of not being worthy to have a place in the world, not being safe to stand up for what you believe in, because you'll be sorry, Jesus, I cannot, because then you will be unalived. Let's put it that way, or annihilated. I don't know. Um, that's where we're currently at. So we need to break through that fear. We need to break through and stand tall and erect and penetrate the world with our truth by using our discernment. So we have to become embodied in our discernment, what is right, what is wrong, and stand up and say it and hold boundaries with consequences. Now that that might be very scary and difficult to do, but it's also really necessary. So that's what we're going to work towards. Have fair consequences and also forgiveness, but also consequences. You cannot forgive without there being consequences, because people can make mistakes, people can do bad things, but they have to realize, they have to take the shame, the healthy shame, like, oh my God, what did I do? That's so bad. They have to take it in. They have to allow it. If you did something really bad, if somebody raped someone, if somebody molested someone, no matter where it came from, they have their own trauma. No matter where it came from, they have to feel the shame and the guilt that they did that. And these are the extreme examples, but there's also mild examples where people did something bad that wasn't so bad, but it still was bad. And if they're then being confronted, they deny, deflect, and avoid and blame you for it. So we do this all the time. And that's not going to work anymore because they have to take in the guilt and the shame of what they did. So then it comes back into alignment, it comes back into healing inside. And that is when shame changes sides. And so I don't know if you've heard about Giselle Pellico. She's my heroine, seriously. That woman, what she's endured, please, if you don't know her, please look her up. I'm not going to tell her whole story, but she said, after being raped countless times while being unconscious, made unconscious by her own husband, and she said, shame needs to change sides. And this is a key sentence for the upcoming years to come, upcoming time, the time right now. It's about this. If somebody did something bad, he needs to take on the shame and the guilt to feel it in his body, which is a huge feeling. And only then he will feel on the inside what he has done to the other person. And then he can take ownership. Because if he doesn't do it, the shame is still with the person who is the victim of the action. And as long as the victim, as long as the person who is being molested, abused, or whatever, in the wronged, the person who's being wronged, as long as he or she carries that shame and wrongful guilt, then that person isn't free. Then he or she's still like suppressed under that weight of guilt and shame that is not hers. And that is something that influences the rest of your life if it's not taken away. And what I noticed myself after being severely molested is it is so hard to push against that because it's not in me. It's not something that I can do the inner work on the inside. I can eliminate my trauma on the inside. I can do that. I've done that because it's my body, my responsibility. So I take care of my youth trauma, of my own inner world. But even if I've done that and other people molest me and put the guilt and shame, or let's say one person molests me and he does not take the shame and the guilt and the blame. No, he puts it on me and he lies and denies and deflects. And other people are going with his story. Then I have so many people leaving guilt and shame and pressure with me that I cannot breathe, that I cannot live. Meaning I am living physically, but every day I have this shame and guilt inside of me eating away at me because the people are not backing me up because it's too hard to believe what happened to me. And that is suffocating me. And so it begins with the perpetrator. He needs to take back the guilt and the blame and the shame so the victim can be free. And this can only happen if the whole community is also having embodied discernment of, hang on, this happened here, this is wrong, and this person who did that needs to be blamed for it because he did that. He needs to own it. So we're not going to look away. We're not going to deny, deflect, and avoid anymore as a collective, as a community, as a village, or as a country, or whatever. And we're going to look at it and feel it and take it in and feel that awfulness. Feel how awful it is what happened with the Epstein files. Feel how awful it is the injustice that is happening in the world. So we can get to embodied discernment and to say, no, this was your doing, and I'm not going to put this shame and guilt anymore upon the victim. Because if I don't believe the victim, then the victim still carries that shame and guilt. And that is what we're going through currently. The Epstein files, the injustice and the suppression in the world is the culprit, is the catalyst at large for all of us to get to embody discernment and to pave the way, to make the way free for shame to change sides. It's already happening. The women that have spoken out about the Epstein files, about what happened to him, like way before the Epstein files even existed, they've already said in the 90s and in the 2000s, like, this has happened to me. They were vindicated, they were erased. They maybe still live, but how were they still living? They didn't stand a chance. I'm thinking about Karen Mulder. Some women actually were killed or have died or committed suicide because there wasn't a way, there wasn't a place for them in the world anymore, you see? So when you've been a victim of severe abuse and the shame and guilt is still with you because the world does not believe your story, then there's so much pressure upon you that you cannot take your place in the world and you will die or have a shit life. And it's not because of your own doing. You cannot, you can do all the inner work possible, and still it will not be enough because we need the people and the community and the field around us to change as well. That's also my personal story. I've done all the inner work, the deepest inner work to make myself free from trauma. And it has helped me greatly in my life. Absolutely. And in order for me to actually live my full potential and a good life, a worthy life, I need the field to change as well. I need the world to believe me and be present with awful information about what happened to me and stand with me in that. With embodiment, embodied discernment. So we as a whole, as a collective, can say whole, and it becomes a barrier. You see, it's not just one person who says no. That's been the journey up until now, 15 years. No. Now it's becoming a collective movement of no, that's enough. And this is what's going to change the system. You see? So, because where is this also present? In family court. So situations between ex-husband and ex-wife with children involved have this dynamic going on as well, where mothers mostly, but also fathers, are not believed in what has happened. There's no discernment and no embodied discernment at court to establish accountability, ownership, and consequences so the children and mothers are safe. Why is that? Because of denial, deflection, and avoidance of the things that have happened are so hurtful, are so unbelievable, are so twisted and turned that they don't believe it. And then there's no discernment, there's no change, there's no consequences. And thus the abuse continues. And there's countless cases of where this happens now and has happened for years, and where children end up even being dead, or mothers and children end up even being dead. Those are the worst cases that set the example and open our eyes to, hey, this is actually what's happening. And it's happening on a very, very large scale. And I've been a lot in the family court system myself in the Netherlands. And I always thought, like, that's only here. And then I see, thankfully, to social media, on it's in the UK and it's in the US and in it's Australia. It's everywhere. It's the coercive control, it's the gaslighting, it's the twisting and turning. And then the courts who don't understand, who deflect, deny, and look away, and therefore helping the biggest aggressor of the room, which is often the perpetrator. If you look at childcare services in the world, it's everywhere the same story because there's no embodied discernment. That's not to say that all these people who work there in court and childcare protection services are bad. No, there's just no embodied discernment. Just like 15 years ago, we were not able yet, to the extent that we are now, to embody our feelings, to embody our needs, to embody our boundaries for the feminine, to listen to our intuition, to have this worthiness embodied. Like 15 years ago, look back and look at where we're now. It's huge difference. It's great. But now we're going to the collective, we're going to the field, we're going into the community, and now the whole community needs to change. Now we need to take in what's happening in the world, take in what's happening in our community, take in what's happening with your friend, neighbor, sister, cousin, and stay present with it, not avoid it, not look away, but stay present with it and confront your harsh feelings and the feelings of disgust, the feelings of, oh, this feels awful, I don't want to deal with this. No, now we need to be reliable and show up. Meaning we don't always know what to do. That's the next step. The first step is to just stay present with us and keep connected and keep investing in these people. Because oftentimes what happens, people have a lot of shit in their lives, people don't like it, they deflect, deny, avoid, and they don't invest anymore in that relationship, in that friendship or whatever, because it's too hard. Oh, they also always have this difficult things going on or whatever. No, people need investing. We're not only going to get there by being healed on the inside. We've done that work to an extent now, and there's still many people who need to do that work. I know. But as a whole, the children and the women are not going to make it without the community standing up for them and investing in them. And that's what we're going to learn as a collective for the next years until we've reached a new level of embodied discernment that enables us to invest and be reliable so we can commit to our relationships and stay even when it's hard and make the difference. And there's some examples I want to give you an image of what this looks like. And the first thing that comes to mind is Kevin Costner in the movie, what's the title? Hidden Figures? I don't know. It's about Catherine, don't remember her last name, but it's about, let me look it up. It's just stupid if I don't know it now. Is it Hidden Figures? Yeah, it is. Cool. Let me find out. What's her name? Katherine Johnson. Thank you. So it's a movie about a mathematician, a woman of color, I think about in the 1960s or so, that is hired by NASA to do the math in order to have rockets go into space to the moon and, well, and Kevin Costner is her boss, and he notices that she is taking existential breaks. And he's like, why is she gone so often? And he's getting annoyed. He's like, she's not doing her work, she's away from her table all the time. So at some point, he confronts her and he says, like, why the hell are you away from your desk so much and long? And she says, well, she's fed up because every time she needs to go to the bathroom, she has to go to a different building on the other side of campus in order to take the bathroom that is made for Black people. So, in other words, for her appearance, there is no bathroom in the building where she's working. And then Kevin Costner, he does something that I think we need a lot in these day and age. Because he goes to that bathroom and everybody's walking with him there. And he takes a baseball bat and he takes down the sign, or he goes to the bathroom. I don't know which one exactly, but he goes to a bathroom and takes down the sign of white bathroom or black bathroom. Just the sign that has a discernment of only these kind of people can go here. He takes it down. And with that, he's exposing for all to see his opinion and the consequences he puts to this discernment. It's not just an opinion, it's discernment of right and wrong, of worthiness. Like, is this woman of color allowed to go to the bathroom in the same house building where she works? He thinks so, he believes so, and he embodies it, and therefore he takes that sign down. Well, this is embodied discernment with consequences. And that's what we need at a very large scale in society. And we need it from men. Because the only thing that women can do when they have embodied discernment, and women have a certain level of embodiment established, the only thing that women can do is leave. They have been confronting, and if then there's still deflect and avoidance and denial going on, the only thing she can do to keep herself and the children safe is to leave. And that is also currently at hand. A lot of women have left the building. They have left. They have left society in a way. They've secluded. They're not speaking up so much anymore. They're also, at least I see it around here in the Netherlands, I see a lot of women not using their skills and abilities to a grand scale because of, I guess, fear and just their place not being there. Like they're exhausted. It's like, how? I don't have a place in this world. And then I need to, that's why I fought so long for my place. And I want to do more. I wanna have my business, have my skills in the world, bring my gifts, have my place in the world to bring my gifts, to enrich the world with my gifts. But if it's been so hard for so long to have a place in the world and you've been fighting for it, then at some point you're just done. You're exasperated. You're like, I don't know how to do it anymore. I'm just gonna get a simple job and just continue life and survive, you see? So the women, they leave the relationship. That's why there's so many women, single moms, single women, not wanting to have relationships with men because they've left, because they've left the building. They need the men first to take down the signs of abuse, to stand up for them, to believe them when they are in need, when they're abused, when they're neglected, when they're ridiculed. And this starts in group of men already when there's jokes about women and the men don't stand up for it, then they're complicit, right? And currently we're going through this movement where the complicitness, I don't know, do you say that like that? So you have to take accountability for being complicit. If you don't stand up, if you don't say something, if you let something happen, then you're being complicit. That's a really beautiful example. Like on social media, there is this video of a man trying to film women from underneath their skirts on the streets. So he's going around, he's trying to take a picture from underneath the skirts of women or film it, I don't know. But he's with his phone underneath the skirt of a woman. And men walk past this and they don't do anything. They just neglect, avoid, deflect, and deny. They certainly don't act. Until a woman walks past and she just grabs this man and punches him in the face. She's like, "Stop, give me that phone." And it's so this is okay. The women, they fight like lions. I can see the women are tired now. We were exhausted. Like, okay, forget it. I'm not even going to fight anymore. I'm just going to remove myself from the streets so I don't have to fight anymore. And the men, I don't know what it is, or I think I do know actually, but they're just like, okay, I'm just going to continue walking because then I'm safe and I'm not going to confront this because I can't do anything about it anyway. Which brings me back to some of the points that I started which is the war wound, which is the man believing if I stand up, if I fight for a cause, I will be killed or we will win and we'll lose anyway because of war you always lose, you see? So this is the wounding, the war wound, the masculine wounding. Like, I'm not gonna defend that woman who's being filmed from underneath her skirt because it's going to cost my life. And I better don't bother and just continue. This is not my place to be. It's also like I hear a lot of people say now, yeah, but it's not my part to play. It's not my place to say anything. It's not my. What do you mean? It's not your part to play. It's not your place to say anything. When you see misconduct, if you see somebody's being abused, then you're witness. And if you don't say anything, you're complicit. I don't know what's the word. Please teach me in the comments. How do I say this? Um, yeah. So the fear of dying and of losing anyway, or of not doing the right thing, or of not in the right way, or being scolded for it, or being, we all have to obey, we all have to be good boys and girls. But so in order to actually confront someone, say, hey, stop it, it's dangerous, right? You can be confronted back, or somebody can scold you like, no, you cannot say that. It's not your place to say it. You shouldn't interfere. It's not your part to do so. Or in Dutch we say, waar bemoei je je mee? Yeah. So this brings way to situations like, for example, a group of kids is playing on some sandy hills. There's sand, dirt, and it belongs to a corporation, of a gardening corporation. And this company, they make beautiful gardens. And so they have at their home base of the company, they have these dirt piles that they then take and bring back from the gardens. So there's a group of boys playing on these hills. They're just having fun in the sand. There's nothing dangerous. There's nothing going wrong. The sand is still in one place. They're just playing on top of it. Also, the sand cannot fall together. It's like really safe, not too high. The mother, she has told the children, you can only play in this part, not the other things. And the children, they listen to the mothers. They're actually playing really only on those dirt paths that are allowed. And then later, because this is not in the mother, she is working in the house, and the children are playing over there. And then later, she hears from the HR manager of that company that the children are not allowed to play there because it could be dangerous. And she only says this because several men of the company who saw the children playing there came to her. So several grown-up men who saw the children playing in the dirt where they were working around and walking around. They didn't say anything to the children. No, they got back inside, went to mommy, to HR, and said, I don't think it's a good idea that the kids are playing there and they're moving some stuff around. That's not okay. So HR goes to the mother of the children on another day and she says, hey, can you please take the children away there because they're not allowed to play there? Oh my goodness. So grown-up men are not able to confront children and say, hey guys, don't go there, go home. or you can play here, but don't do that. You know, if grown men are not allowing themselves to confront children because maybe it's not their children, but hey, they're not allowing themselves to confront children with their embodied discernment because it's not there. Instead, they run to mommy, they go inside to tell a woman about this so she can take care of it. And the woman then, instead of women holding together, she has now put up a boundary to another woman whilst she actually understands the woman because women, we want the community, we want the village to take care of the children so they can play outside and have a good time. Meaning, if children play somewhere and something's unsafe or something's not allowed, then the person who sees that should act with gentle care and loving respect, but still with firm boundary. Children can easily learn in this way, but if he believes, no, that's not my place, no, I'm not allowed to say anything to these children because they're not my children, then we're lost, you see? Then we're lost. And then there is no community because the mom needs to take the children inside and, box them in because the children are not allowed to go there because there's no care. And why? Because it's all a matter of reliability. The company does not want to be reliable for when something happens to these children. Whereas chances are slim. And if something happens, well, we can just take care of it, right? And better we take care of it as it before it happens. Like, oh, and put the boundary before instead of days after. And so this is an example of where embodied discernment is not present. Embodied discernment is seeing what is going on, staying present with it, and guiding it towards the right direction when the direction is off. And that's masculine energy. That's healthy masculinity. And that's necessary in all of us, but especially in men. Because honestly, if grown men need to go to a woman to take care of the thing that they could handle themselves, then that's a lot of pressure on the women. I find this story such a good example of so many things where women carry the burden because the men are acting like boys instead of grown men. So the woman needs to carry the load and the responsibility of keeping these children safe, of keeping the connection with the community safe, whereas also putting up the boundary, boxing children in, where else these children cannot and don't want to be boxed in, and then they cannot play anymore, and they lose their playfulness, and the mom has more on her plate because the children now cannot play freely outside anymore. Whereas if the man just like, hey, this is where you can play, and that's not where you can play, and I'm gonna hold you accountable if you don't do it. That's how children also get proper guidance in which they can actually play. So we need structure, we need boundaries within what we can be, play, speak, do, thrive. And if we don't have those boundaries, if there's no confrontation, if there's no presence, if the guys avoid, deflect, deny, then the women have to carry it all. And the women are tired of carrying it all. So they're like, I'm out. So that's what we're at. That's where we're at. Yeah. So to go through this in the upcoming years, we will go through, or months, I don't know how long this is going to take, but we will go through layers and layers of grief. This will be about confronting death inside you. This is about grieving the part that wants to die and choose life from within. This is about working through depression. This is about showing up for yourself, choosing to show up for yourself and confront yourself with hard, difficult things again and again and again until you've mastered it, until you have practiced and trained yourself enough so you can hold ground and have embodied discernment in connection, and therefore you succeed together. So the good news is when we establish this, when we manage to do this, then there's finally a chance at union, at doing it really together, and to establish a healthy community and tribe, because no one is looking away anymore. And we're all able to stay with it. And well, that's going to enhance communication, connection, trust, and building capacity for a much brighter future. Because I feel there's enough people who have the right ideas, the right vision for the future. And as we speak, we are working our way towards that vision. And this is part of it, because in order to build a community, we have to I want to say destroy the parts that want to deny, deflect, and avoid, but much rather we have to love these parts. We have to rein them in. We have to hold them close. We have to hug them. We have to tell these parts that they're also welcome and loving, that they're lovable. Because when the parts inside of you that want to avoid, deny, and deflect, those parts are very scared. Those parts are very hurt. Those parts are very afraid, terrorized, traumatized. They're in shock. And in order to bring them alive, we have to love them deeply. We have to hold them close. We have to give them warmth. And we have to release probably a lot of tears and grieve a lot. And then come to a point where we find forgiveness, deep forgiveness for the remorse and regret that we carry inside of us for all the things we didn't do, or all the things we did do wrong, for all the things we messed up with in life. You see? To meet the parts inside of you where you know I fucked up. And then to see all the parts in you that made that happen and love all those parts. And those parts are ugly. They're the losers of you. And they're the parts where you feel, my God, I really fucked up. I don't like this part of me. I want to scold this part of me. I want to put this part of me down. And those parts you have to get close to you and love, 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 love those parts in you. That's what you need to do. And then you're healing the core masculine wound inside of you, which enables you to become more present, more forgiving, more confrontational, more discerning, and more accountable. Because if you want to hold somebody else accountable, you have to be accountable yourself. Take responsibility yourself. And that muscle we must train and grow, because it's highly uncomfortable. We'd rather stay like, oh, if mommy takes care of it, it's fine. And I don't have to do it. It's comfortable. But you're never going to be fully grown up if you keep doing that. So we all have to grow up in our masculinity, rise, structure, embody the discernment so we can pave the way for a better future together. Thank you so much for listening. Please write to me in the comments if you recognize the story and what you recognize of it. If you have any questions, I'm very, very happy to answer them. All right. I wish you a beautiful week.